Here we are in Dawson Creek. We made it through Canada, and now we are at the last leg, the Alaska Highway. Mile marker 0. We got about 1,000 miles, maybe a little more, to get to the U.S. border. So here we go. There's a sawmill, lots of log trucks pulling in and out of there. They're making the smart siding that we use on our cabin. Look at that, a moose right away as soon as we got on this highway. It's a beautiful start. The skies are clear, the scenery is beautiful, and we've got a little ways to go to Fort Nelson. Starting to see some wildlife. There's a couple elk there on the hillside grazing, and I think quite a few of the animals that we see on this trip are in the ditch banks along the road because they love the open grassy areas, and the snow plows keep the roads clear, and so if they want to walk down the road, they just walk down the road. There's a few buffalo, and I love the flag. Look at those mountains. We're going to cross that range to get to Alaska. And of course, I'm a little nervous what the mountain driving is going to look like, but we'll just keep going. We may have to slow down. Right now, we can drive 55, no problem. There's a few big, long, straight stretches here in this first part of the highway.
Well, it's about 4 o'clock and the sun is getting ready to set. And it's 7 degrees. Here we are on the Alaska Highway. We've seen buffalo today. We've seen 2 dead moose on the side of the road. And we saw 1 alive moose, but it was way off in the distance. We saw a huge herd of elk and just a bunch of snow. And we did see a lynx, but it was a blurry picture, so I won't be showing that. Now we have a beautiful sunset. Quite a few of the bridges along the Alaska Highway were a steel structure, and I liked seeing them. It seemed like we always met another vehicle when we were on the bridges. 36 degrees here in the mountains. Really bouncy. What we've been looking for. Got some bison here on the road. We just passed a herd of them. It was probably 45 or so, just laying in the ditch sleeping.
They're so furry. If it was Mark, he'd be gunning it right now.
All right, old man, get over there.
They're fat. Oh, he slipped. Road slippery. After seeing the bison, we stopped in at Watson Lake and slept for a few hours in the truck. Then we're back on the road. Now it's getting daylight and it's going to be another beautiful day. The sky is clearing up and it looks good. Look at that. The reindeer must have done a good job, and Santa Claus let them out for a little free time now. Actually, they're called caribou, I guess, here in the wild, but I like to call them reindeer still. You're only supposed to call them reindeer when they're domesticated. Here's our last picture of some wildlife here in Canada. A couple of elk grazing alongside the road.
We're getting ready to drive into Haines Junction. This is the only place that they're saying that there's a storm projected along our
Winter
trip.
storm warning affected area ahead. Please proceed with caution.
Well, that was timely. It's so pretty to see the sun shining on that mountain. Well, we made it through Haines Junction without a winter storm, but this semi looks like he's bringing one. Wowee. That's the closest thing to a storm we've seen. Got some pretty mountains over there. Here is Destruction Bay. Well, we left Destruction Bay about 10 miles ago, and the roads are completely snow covered, and they're super uneven. It's very, very bouncy ride. Nobody would be taking a nap in this kind of road. So we'll see how long this lasts. The roads are still rough, and it looks like a winter wonderland out here.
How far are we from Canada line?
We're about 65 miles from the United States border. We are back in Alaska, and we're very happy. It went so smoothly at the border. We did it!
Hooray. So excited.
We did it in 3 days. We went across Canada in 3 days, exactly. They told us it would take us 4, and it probably should have, but we did it in 3. We are back in Tok. We're at the end of our traveling on the Alaska Highway. We're getting ready to turn on the Glen Highway. We made it to Alaska and just showed our traveling on the Alaska Highway. So go back to the beginning and let's just talk about our trip.
Pretty much right after Christmas, wasn't it? We started packing up. I had a Kubota that I thought would be really handy to have here, and so we got a snowblower, put the snowblower on the back of the Kubota, tried it out, and looked like it was going to be a lot of fun. So we bought a 29-foot enclosed trailer. It's actually just like a 24-foot box, and then it had the 5-foot V-nose in the front so that we could have a ramp out the front of it for driving a four-wheeler or a snow machine out through the front. So we got the trailer, put in a couple of four-wheelers. Valerie got a snow machine in Michigan, and so we put that in there. We put the Kubota with the snowblower in there, and then just filled in around it with totes and tools and supplies, whatever kinds of things we had around the farm in Michigan that we thought would come in handy here in Alaska at the cabin. So we got that trailer loaded up, and then we loaded the back of the truck up, put a cap that my dad had used on one of his pickups, put the cap on my pickup so we could keep things dry and clean, and put, I think, 10 buckets of food supplies like wheat or popcorn or
Molasses.
dried beans, molasses, just stuff that we had, totes of this and that. Filled the truck bed up. Threw it was a beanbag that folds out, and threw that in the back seat of the pickup so we could take naps or sleep on that back seat. Actually, a couple times, if both of us were tired, Mary would sleep in the front seat and I'd just lay down in the back, and we'd try to park alongside the road at a rest area or whatever and catch a little bit of sleep on our traveling. But that's kind of how we packed the truck. Got it all packed up. We had couple days after Christmas to pack it up, and then left on a Thursday night. I think we took Scott and Avery to South Bend, dropped them off at the airport. They flew back to Florida. Mary and I headed out across the continent. I mean, we had a big trip, 3,900 miles. Headed out through Chicago. Traffic wasn't bad. Actually, the weather was pretty nice. Until we got up into North Dakota, there was still remnants from that snowstorm that had went through the week before. And so the roads were a little bit rough still from the snow. For the most part, the sky at least was very clear. Headed up to North Dakota, and that's where we came to our first hurdle. We thought that was the Canadian border, with all the stories of what other people had experienced. So we got to the border, gave them our paperwork. It was probably 10 o'clock at night, something like that, and they were just super friendly. We had a handwritten sheet, listed out all the things that we had in the truck and all the things that we had in the trailer. They asked us a couple questions about what we were carrying, making sure that we didn't bring maybe some alcohol, tobacco, and firearms, things like that. All in all, took us 7 minutes. I think we waited for a minute on the car in front of us. Then we pulled up there and maybe took 6 minutes. And we were through the border with a have a good time. It was awesome. It was awesome. Worked out great. In fact, it was so good we just kept driving all night then, I think.
We did.
That was Friday night, is that right?
Yes.
So Friday night we got to the border and we took off into Canada there from North Dakota, heading up. I guess Regina was next, and then Saskatoon, and then Edmonton. And we just thought, well, we'll get to one of these towns and we'll stop, either get a hotel or sleep in the truck or something. Traveling went pretty good.
It was really foggy.
It was maybe, after midnight it seemed to get real foggy, and it was probably 5 degrees.
Yeah.
It was really cold.
The road was really rough right away in
it was
Canada.
a little rough. There was actually times that it was so foggy, I think if I was going more than 50 mile an hour, let's say, I couldn't see more than, they have the passing lane stripes, I could see about 3 of them. It was that foggy, which seemed a little crazy to me, being that cold that it could be that foggy, but it was intense for a while. But we went through, I think we went through that night, and then the next day, Mary drove for a while, I got a little sleep, we just carried on.
And that was New Year's Eve day.
Yep. And we carried on, and I think by 7 or 8 o'clock on Friday night, we made it to Dawson Creek. Yeah. And had a little sushi, got a hotel, and that was the extent of our New Year's Eve party. We were gone, in bed and sleeping. Let's see, New Year's Day then, left Dawson Creek at about 8:30. And that's where the video takes over, hit the Alaskan Highway, and wow, I was super happy. The road conditions were probably better than I expected, because all my thinking and my preparation, I was kind of expecting a lot of tight, twisty, mountainous roads that were covered in snow and slippery. But how was it? We got onto the highway, and I'll bet within the first, as soon as we got onto that Alaska Highway, they had signs that clearly said either you take tire chains in your vehicle or you have winter tires installed. And this is October through April, I think is the regulation that they have. And they had numerous signs along the highway that kept repeating that. So we had just put a brand new set of good snow tires on the truck, and I'm amazed the difference. That's the first time I ever put snow tires on my vehicle, actually. And I'm really surprised what a difference a snow tire makes when you're driving in snow. Just for reference, I can drive around with that pickup in 2-wheel drive in 6 inches of snow. I can back into places, drive around, it doesn't even spin. I'm really surprised. So it made a big difference. Those roads were pretty snow covered for the bulk of that Alaska Highway, and the truck just never missed a beat. I never felt like I was losing traction anywhere. And obviously I was maybe a little hesitant because I'd be driving 45, 50 mile an hour, going around what I thought were some curves and this and that, and the semis would come up behind me and just want to pass me. And so I was probably being a little too cautious, but you know, I was a long ways from home and I wanted to make it to Alaska without any problems. But kudos to the snow tires. They did great for me. I loved them. But that highway, we probably spent the first 5 hours, 6 hours. I think there's a little burg called Pink Mountain. And until we got to Pink Mountain, it was just wide open, easy driving. You could set your cruise control. It was good. But after Pink Mountain, things got a little tight. And then there was when we entered the mountain range there was a couple towns. I think it was called Toad River was one of the little places where probably that was the twistiest part that we seen on the Alaska Highway. And there was a couple hours there that I was driving between 30 and 40 mile an hour. It was just a little slow, pulling the trailer, and it was dark at that time, which if you're going to drive in January, you can expect to see a lot of darkness because I would say there's only 8 hours of daylight total, and so driving a lot at night. And I wish now that between Pink Mountain and Watson Lake, I wish now I would have made sure I drove that section in the daylight. That one I would do different. But that's the way it goes. There was the most twisty road and there was the most wildlife in that section. And so I wish, looking back, that I would have chose to drive that section in the daylight. And some of the other sections of the road could have been in the dark and it wouldn't have mattered, wouldn't have affected me as much. But yeah, the road it was amazing. Easy to drive and beautiful for the bulk of that Alaska Highway. There's one good sized town, that's Whitehorse. We stopped there, got some snacks and things at Walmart, and got some gas, or diesel I should say. I actually had 3 5-gallon diesel cans in my trailer just for in case of emergency. I just had them along full of diesel. I think for the most part, I never was under a half a tank of diesel in that truck. So there was plenty of stations that were open.
Even though we went through on New Year's Eve.
Yeah,
New
New Year's
Day.
Eve. I thought maybe New Year's Day things would be closed, but there was always a good place to get fuel. No problems at all with the truck or trailer. Just, it was an amazingly easy trip. So we're happy. What can we say about the wildlife when we got to Alaska, Mary? Can you believe what happened there?
Well, I'm kind of known for not hitting the start button on the videos. So I handed Matt the video camera because we seen moose in the ditch and I forgot to hit the start button. So,
well, she had the camera in her hand and we got into Alaska wishing that we could see some moose, and I bet we weren't 10 miles into Alaska and there stands a cow and a bull, both together, and they were on my side of the road. So she handed me the camera, which I thought was running, and I put it out my window and took some pictures of these moose, and the bull kind of turned and looked at us and was trotting around there.
And I could see, oh wow, that's going to be a nice video.
We thought, oh wow, that's good. These moose are just hanging out right here for us. So I give the camera back to Mary, take off down the road, and we didn't go a mile, and she was like, "There's no video here. What's the deal?" And I said, "Oh my!" I said, "Was the video running when you handed it to me? Because I just thought it was running." And she thought I was going to put it out the window and then push start. And so, poor communication, that's what happened. We got no pictures of that moose, or those 2 moose.
Yeah.
So, then to make matters worse, we got another 15 miles down the road, and there's a wolverine in the middle of the road. And I was like, that's a wolverine, but he looked like he was kind of flipping around in the road. I don't know if I'm not sure what he was doing. So he's out in the road, and Mary grabs her camera, picks it up, and what was it, Mary? You thought it was I think you thought it was a porcupine.
Yeah, I thought it was a porcupine, and I was like, he's gonna drive over that thing and poke a hole in our tires, and so I was
So she was thinking
so
about
worried about that.
me hitting this porcupine that she forgot to turn her camera on. By the time we got up to it,
And it was super fast.
Yeah,
It was like lightning fast.
he ran across the road and off into the woods, and then she realized all she got was just a little glimpse of him running into the woods. So we didn't get any video of that either. But it was neat to see the Wolverine. I couldn't believe it. Just right out there on the road. It was close enough that you could very distinctly see his white markings and everything that makes a Wolverine a Wolverine. But other than that, actually, there was one more. We were getting close to Palmer, close to Wasilla. Mary was sleeping. I just crested a hill. I was heading down a hill, like a 50-mile-an-hour hill, pretty steep hill. All of a sudden, in my headlights, there's a big moose right on the shoulder of the road. Just thought, there's no way I can stop for this thing because I'm heading down a hill with this trailer and truck. So I hit my brakes, but she was facing the road and she was kneeling down, licking the salt that was laying on the road. I slowed down, went around her and kept going, but I was just thankful, because she was kneeling, she wasn't just going to jump up and walk out in front of me. That worked out good because I don't like that section of the road. I've seen other people have hit moose and there's no cell reception in that area. What a disaster that is. Not only would I hate to hit a moose, but then I'd hate to be stranded out on a section of highway with no cell service.
I did see a moose as well when you were sleeping right after we left Toke. There was a moose walking the same direction I was driving, but it was in the oncoming lane on the shoulder.
Okay.
So, and
they just do that. When the snow gets this deep, the moose will gravitate towards a road or a trail and they will walk down that road because it's so simple to walk. But we made it back to Wasilla. It was, I think, about midnight.
Yep, 12:30.
What a long 4.25 days. It was quite a while.
No, it's actually really fast.
Yeah.
To go from Michigan to Alaska in 4.5 days is a little nuts, though.
So we got here, just parked on the little dirt road there in front of our place. And of course, the snow is knee deep everywhere. So I came into the cabin here, got the heat turned on, got it warmed up a little bit in here while I unloaded the Kubota out of the back of the trailer. And then we unloaded some tires and miscellaneous stuff in the back of the trailer, and then got the Kubota out, plowed a driveway to the cabin.
And then I will have a video on all of that soon.
Oh, forget that. We'll see that stuff later. All right. We'll see you guys later. Clayton, Valerie, wish you were here with us.